There's a question that has haunted good men for generations, a question whispered in bedrooms after rejection, a question asked in silence after watching someone they care about choose someone else again and again. Why do nice guys finish last? And before you roll your eyes, before you say, nice guys aren't really nice, let me be clear about something. This isn't about men who fake kindness to manipulate. This is about genuinely good men, men who listen when you speak, men who respect your boundaries, men who show up when they say they will, men who care deeply and love honestly. And yet, they watch the world reward something else entirely. They see women choose men who text back when they feel like it, men who keep their intentions unclear, men who make people work for their attention, men who seem to care less. And every time, these good men are left standing there, confused, wondering what they did wrong. Today, we're going to talk about why this happens. Not the comfortable explanation that makes everyone feel better. The real one, the evolutionary one. The truth is that biology doesn't care about fairness, and what you're about to hear might make you uncomfortable. But discomfort is where understanding lives, because this pattern isn't random, it's ancient. And once you understand why it exists, everything about human attraction will finally make sense. You know him. Maybe you are him. The guy who texts back thoughtfully within minutes. The guy who remembers the small details of your conversations. The guy who asks how your day was and actually listens to the answer. The guy who doesn't play games because he thinks honesty is respect, and you've watched what happens to him. He gets told, "You're too good for me." He gets the speech about how he'll make someone very happy someday. Just not today, not with them. He gets put in the category of great guy while they date someone who treats them like an option. Meanwhile, the guy who shows up late without apology, the guy who texts back when he feels like it, the guy who keeps 3 other women on rotation, the guy who makes you wonder where you stand, that guy gets chosen over and over again. And every dating coach, every self-help book, every well-meaning friend says the same thing. Nice guys aren't really nice. They're manipulative. They're weak. They're boring. But that's not always true. Sometimes a nice guy is just a good human being who hasn't learned a hard truth yet. A truth that evolution wrote into the human brain thousands of years ago. A truth that makes no sense in our modern world, but still controls who we're attracted to. And that truth is this: attraction isn't logical. And biology doesn't reward niceness. It rewards something else entirely. Here's what most people don't understand about human attraction. Your brain wasn't designed for the modern world. It wasn't designed for dating apps or equal partnerships or emotional intelligence. It was designed for survival. And in the world where human brains evolved, niceness wasn't the trait that kept you alive. Confidence was, strength was, unpredictability was. The ability to take risks was the willingness to compete. The capacity to walk away was. Think about it. Thousands of years ago, resources were scarce. Food was limited. Safety wasn't guaranteed. And the humans who survived weren't the ones who were polite and agreeable. They were the ones who fought for what they needed, who took what they wanted, who didn't back down when challenged. And women, whether they know it or not, are still attracted to signals that say, this person can protect, this person can provide, this person can survive in a dangerous world. Now, I know what you're thinking, but we don't live in caves anymore. We live in a civilized society where niceness should matter more than dominance. And you're right, but your brain doesn't know that. Your attraction system is still running on ancient software. Software that looks for signs of genetic fitness, not signs of emotional maturity. This is why the bad boy pattern exists. Not because women love men who treat them poorly, but certain behaviors trigger ancient attraction circuits that were designed to identify strong mates. Dominance, confidence, risk-taking, emotional unpredictability that creates uncertainty. All of these things activate the same neural pathways that once signaled, this person has high survival value. And niceness? Niceness signals safety, predictability, low risk. And while those things are wonderful for long-term relationships, they don't trigger the immediate, intense attraction that comes from evolutionary alarm bells ringing. And here's where nice guys get stuck. They believe that showing their full hand is honest, and it is. But it's also the thing that kills attraction before it even starts. Not because honesty is bad, but because predictability is boring. And I don't mean boring like uninteresting. I mean boring like certain, like guaranteed, like already won. Because attraction thrives on uncertainty, on the question, does this person want me? On the gap between what you know and what you're trying to figure out, on the tension of not being completely sure. When a nice guy shows up exactly as he is, with clear intentions, with obvious interest, with total availability, he removes all the mystery, he removes all the challenge, he removes all the uncertainty, and the human brain, especially in the early stages of attraction, is wired to chase what it doesn't fully have yet. This isn't manipulation, this is biology. The same biology that makes a cat lose interest in a toy the moment it stops moving. The same biology that makes us value things more when they're hard to get. The same biology that releases dopamine when we're pursuing something uncertain, not when we already have it. Nice guys offer certainty, and certainly, in the world of attraction, it feels like settling. It feels like the safe choice, the backup plan, the person you choose after you've tried everything else. And no one wants to be the backup plan, but that's exactly what niceness communicates when it's offered too freely, too soon, without any tension. Here's what separates the nice guy from the guy who gets chosen. And it's not cruelty, it's not being a jerk, it's not playing games, it's confidence, real confidence. The kind that doesn't need validation, the kind that doesn't change behavior based on someone else's approval, the kind that says, I know my worth, and I'm not going to beg you to see it. Nice guys struggle with this because they confuse kindness with people-pleasing. They think respect means always saying yes. They think love means making themselves small so someone else feels big. They think devotion means sacrificing their own needs to meet someone else's. But confidence and kindness aren't opposites. They're partners. You can be kind and still have boundaries. You can be respectful and still know when to walk away. You can be loving and still refuse to tolerate being treated poorly. The difference is this: a confident, kind person gives because they want to, not because they need something in return. A nice guy gives because he's trying to earn something: love, attention, validation, approval, and people can feel that difference. They can sense when kindness comes with an invisible price tag, and that neediness, that desperation, that hope, that if they just give enough, they'll finally be chosen. That's what repels people, not the kindness itself, the fear underneath it. Let me tell you something that sounds backward, but is absolutely true. Attraction grows in the space between yes and no, in the tension of not knowing, in the push and pull of uncertainty. Nice guys eliminate all tension. They're always available, always agreeable, always accommodating. And in doing so, they accidentally teach people not to value them. Because here's a psychological truth: we value what we have to work for. We dismiss what comes too easily. This isn't fair. This isn't right, but it's real. When someone knows they have your full attention, your complete availability, your unconditional yes, they stop wondering about you. They stop chasing. They stop trying, because there's nothing left to win. You've already given them everything without them having to earn any of it. This doesn't mean you should play games. It doesn't mean you should manipulate or be dishonest. It means you should have a life that matters more than any single person's approval. It means you should be genuinely busy building something that makes you proud. It means you should have standards that not everyone can meet. Because when you have that, when you have something real to protect, you naturally create the tension that attraction needs. Not through manipulation, through genuine self-respect, through actually having other things in your life that demand your time and energy. And when you're not always available, when you're not always agreeable, when you're not always accommodating, something shifts. People start wondering, wait, does he still want me as much as I thought? Why isn't he chasing anymore? Did I lose him? And those questions, that small moment of uncertainty, reignite the attraction that certainty killed. So what's the solution? Does this mean nice guys should become jerks? Absolutely not. That's not the lesson here. The lesson is this: niceness without strength is just weakness wearing a mask, and people don't fall in love with weakness. They appreciate it, they feel comfortable around it, but they don't desire it. What women actually want, what anyone actually wants, is someone who is kind by choice, not by fear. Someone who is respectful because they respect themselves first. Someone who is generous because they have abundance, not because they're hoping to receive something in return. That's the shift from fear-based niceness to strength-based kindness. From please like me to I like myself. And if you appreciate that, wonderful. If not, I'll be fine. Because here's the evolutionary truth that most nice guys miss. Strength isn't about being cruel. It's about being secure. It's about knowing your worth so deeply that rejection doesn't destroy you. It's about having something to offer that isn't just, I'll do whatever you want. And when you shift into that version of yourself, something incredible happens. You stop finishing last, not because you stopped being nice, but because you started being strong. And strength combined with kindness, that's what actually creates lasting attraction, because strength signals survival value, and kindness signals you'll use that strength to protect, not to harm. Together, they create the combination that the human brain was designed to find irresistible. So here's what I want you to understand. If you're a nice guy who keeps getting overlooked, the problem isn't your kindness. The problem is that you're giving your kindness to people who haven't earned it. You're offering your loyalty to people who haven't proven they'll value it. You're making yourself endlessly available to people who take that availability for granted. And evolution has wired human beings to dismiss what comes too easily, not because they're bad people, but because for millions of years, things that came too easily were low value, and our brains still operate on that ancient logic. This doesn't mean you should become cold. It doesn't mean you should play games. It doesn't mean you should treat people poorly. It means you should become selective. It means you should protect your energy the way you'd protect anything valuable. Because you are valuable, your time is valuable. Your attention is valuable. Your kindness is valuable. But if you give it away without any standards, without any boundaries, without any sense of your own worth, people will treat it like it's worthless. Not because they're intentionally cruel, but because you taught them to. Through your behavior, through your availability, through your willingness to accept whatever scraps of attention they're willing to give you. The moment you start protecting your value, the moment you start having standards, the moment you start being willing to walk away from people who don't treat you right, everything changes. You stop attracting people who want a doormat. You start attracting people who want a partner. And this brings us to the real difference between men who keep women interested and men who get friend-zoned. It's not about looks. It's not about money. It's not even about personality. It's about this. Confident men don't chase, not because they don't care, but because their worth isn't determined by whether one specific woman chooses them. They have a life that would continue even if the relationship ended. They have goals that drive them. They have a world that keeps spinning regardless of who's in it. And that creates a completely different energy. They're not trying to convince anyone of their value. They're simply being valuable and letting people discover it. They're not performing for approval. They're living with purpose and inviting people to join them. And that invitation, that offer to share a life instead of becoming someone's life, is what creates healthy, lasting attraction. Because it removes the desperation, it removes the neediness, it removes the signal that triggers people to run. You become someone who wants connection but doesn't need validation. Someone who values a person but isn't destroyed by their absence. Someone who cares deeply but doesn't abandon themselves in the process. And that kind of man doesn't finish last. He doesn't finish anywhere in some imaginary race because he's not racing, he's living. And the right people don't need to be chased. They naturally want to keep up. So here's the final truth about why nice guys finish last. They don't finish last because women hate kindness. They finish last because they confuse kindness with self-abandonment. They finish last because they offer everything and ask for nothing. They finish last because they have no boundaries, no standards, no sense that their own needs matter. But when you understand this, when you realize that the problem isn't your kindness, but your lack of self-respect, everything changes. You can still be kind. You can still be respectful. You can still be loving and thoughtful and caring. But you do it from a place of strength instead of fear. You do it because you choose to, not because you're terrified of being alone. You do it because someone has earned it, not because you're trying to earn their attention. You do it because it aligns with your values, not because you're hoping it will make someone love you. And when you shift into that version of yourself, when you become genuinely strong and genuinely kind at the same time, you stop finishing last because you're no longer in a race. You're simply being someone worth choosing, and the people who are ready for that, who are mature enough to value that, will choose you. Not because you manipulated them, not because you played hard to get, but because you became the kind of person who is genuinely difficult to replace. So the next time someone tells you that you're too nice, don't believe them. You're not too nice. You're just being nice to people who aren't ready to value it. And the solution isn't to become mean, it's to become strong. Strong enough to know when to walk away. Strong enough to have standards. Strong enough to stop finishing last by refusing to enter races that don't matter. Because nice guys don't finish last. Weak guys do, and there's a world of difference.